All right, so we're back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we are talking about something that I think is pretty cool, and something that, I think everyone listening can relate to at least a little bit.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be talking about this new paper that came out of Meta AI. It's called...
The token level detective reward model.
Yeah, so TLDR.
TLDR.
Catchy.
Yeah, exactly. And it is so appropriate
A
because
perfect name for it.
yeah, well, and also like what it aims to do is like TLDR, like sum up and understand what we're actually trying to do with AI, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it cuts to the chase.
So yeah, I mean, I think everyone listening at some point has interacted with a chatbot.
Of course.
Or has tried to get some information out of, some kind of AI system that's supposed to be giving you like relevant results. And it's just like
It's been a huge letdown.
a huge letdown. Yeah. Or just like even you're like interacting with your smart home device.
And you're like, turn off the lights. And it's like playing music by the lights.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, this is like a problem that everyone is aware of.
Yeah. It's a huge problem. And, it all boils down to this fundamental issue that AI has really struggled with.
Yeah. And that is...
Context and nuance in language.
So how does TLDR... I mean, that's the problem.
Right.
How does TLDR aim to fix this?
Well, the really cool thing about TLDR is that it operates on a much more granular level than previous approaches.
Okay.
So traditionally, AI models, they would look at text as, like you said, these big blocks of information.
Right.
But with TLDR, it actually goes down to the level of individual tokens.
Okay, now explain what a token is.
A token, so think of it as like the smallest unit of meaning in a sentence.
Okay.
So it could be a word, it could be a punctuation mark.
Gotcha.
It could be a subword, like a prefix or a suffix. And by analyzing these individual tokens in context, TLDR can get a much deeper understanding of the intent and the meaning behind the text.
So, okay, so it's not just understanding the words themselves, but it's also understanding
The relationships.
the relationship between them, the grammar.
The grammar, the syntax,
Yeah.
the context in which they're being used.
So is this kind of getting at almost like an AI version of like emotional intelligence in a way?
I think that's a really good way to put it because, emotional intelligence in humans is all about understanding the nuances of communication.
Right.
Picking up on subtle cues.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what TLDR is trying to do
Interesting.
for AI.
Okay, so it's kind of like it's going a level deeper than just what's on the surface.
Exactly.
And so how does that actually work? Like, how is it able to assign meaning to these individual tokens in a way that like makes sense?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So TLDR is essentially a reward model.
Okay.
So it learns by being given feedback on its performance.
Okay.
And in this case, the feedback is in the form of scores that are assigned to individual tokens.
Okay.
So it will analyze a piece of text,
Right.
break it down into its individual tokens, and then assign a score to each token based on how relevant and accurate it is in that particular context.
It's grading its own homework.
It's grading its own homework, exactly.
Okay.
And over time, as it receives more and more of this feedback, it starts to learn which tokens are good choices in which situations.
Okay.
And which tokens are not.
So like if I say turn off the lights,
Right.
like lights would get a really high score in that context.
Exactly.
But like if I say play music by the lights and then it says, okay, turning off the lights is going to get dinged there.
Exactly.
Because it didn't understand the context.
It missed the context.
Yeah.
It missed the nuance.
Interesting. Okay, so it's like AI is becoming its own editor.
It's becoming its own editor. It's becoming its own crypt.
And so, the paper also mentions, this idea of vision language tasks.
Right.
So how does TLDR play into that? Like, what are some examples of vision language tasks?
So vision language tasks are essentially any task that requires AI to understand both visual information and language.
Okay.
So a really common example is image captioning. So
Right.
you give the AI a picture and you ask it to describe what's happening in the picture.
Right.
Using natural language.
Yeah, and that's something that like AI has been able to do for a while now.
It has, but it's been very basic.
Okay.
It's been very literal, like a dog is sitting on a chair.
Right.
But with TLDR, we can start to see AI generating captions that are much more creative,
Okay.
much more engaging.
So it could say like, this dog looks like he's planning world domination.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
Exactly. It can pick up on the humor.
Okay.
Or it can pick up on the emotion.
Gotcha.
That's being conveyed in the image.
Interesting. So it's almost like it's learning to be a storyteller.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's learning to be a storyteller.
And so what are some other examples of these like vision language tasks?
Well, another really exciting area is visual question answering.
Okay.
So you can imagine you show the AI an image and then you ask it a complex question about the image,
Okay.
like what is the dog thinking?
Right.
Or why is the woman in the background smiling?
Yeah.
And the AI needs to be able to understand both the visual information in the image
Yeah.
and the nuance of the question in order to provide an accurate answer.
Okay, so it's like it's almost like having a conversation with the AI about the image.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
It's like having a dialogue.
And so like what are some of I mean, this is all really cool and I think like really gets to that question of like how is AI going to understand us better?
Right.
But like what are some of the potential downsides to this? Like is there anything that we should be concerned about?
Well, I think anytime we're talking about AI that's becoming more powerful,
Right.
more intelligent, there are always going to be concerns
Right.
about potential misuse. We need to make sure that we're developing these technologies responsibly,
Yes.
ethically,
Yeah.
and that we're putting safeguards in place to prevent them from being used for harmful purposes.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But I think overall, the potential benefits of this kind of technology far outweigh the risks.
Yeah. And it's exciting to think that, we're moving towards a future where AI can be more of a partner.
Exactly. More of a collaborator
Yeah.
rather than just a tool.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've seen Meta doing for a while now, right? Like they've been really focused on this idea of like self-supervised learning,
Right.
and this idea of AI kind of like teaching itself.
Exactly.
So like we saw this with, their work on self-taught evaluators,
Right.
and self-rewarding language models.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important trend to pay attention to
Yeah.
because it represents a fundamental shift in how we're thinking about AI development.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, we've relied very heavily on human annotation
Right.
to train these models.
Yeah.
But human annotation is expensive.
Yeah.
It's time-consuming, and it's inherently limited.
Right.
Because humans can only annotate so much data.
Yeah.
So by developing AI systems that can learn to evaluate and reward themselves,
Yeah.
we're essentially breaking free from that bottleneck.
Okay.
And we're opening up the possibility for AI to improve itself at a much faster rate.
So it's almost like we're creating like a self-sustaining cycle of AI improvement.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So where do you see all of this heading? Like, what are some of the potential long-term implications of this technology?
Well, I think the possibilities are really limitless.
Okay.
We're talking about AI that can understand us on a much deeper level,
Yeah.
that can communicate with us more naturally,
Yeah.
that can adapt to new information more quickly. So I think this has the potential to revolutionize everything from customer service
Yeah.
to education
Mhm.
to healthcare
Yeah.
to entertainment.
Absolutely.
I mean, you name it.
Yeah, and I think for all of our listeners out there, like what I really want you to take away from this is like think about how this level of AI understanding
Mm-hmm.
could transform your field.
Yes.
Like how could it lead to breakthroughs in medical diagnosis or personalized education
Absolutely.
or, streamline creative processes? Like the possibilities are really pretty astounding.
Yeah, I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
This is
that's all we got for today's deep dive, but, keep thinking about this stuff.
this is something to really ponder.
Yeah, because this is going to change our world.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for listening.
Thanks.
We'll catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.